In this video, I'm going to take you on a detailed tour of the brand new international spec Airbus A350-1000 with Japan Airlines in business class. I'll show you the lounge, the new private business suite, the food, the bed, frozen Alaska, and more, so let's get into it. The journey begins at Terminal 8, shared with other oneworld airlines such as BA, Qantas, and American Airlines. JAL's check-in area is right in front of me, and I joined the shared business and premium economy queue. JAL actually offer pretty good perks for premium economy, as they're also granted lounge access, while most other airlines would not for that travel class, but it does make the business line quite long. I should clarify that with boarding the aircraft, the business class did have their own line shared with oneworld Sapphires. Japan are an extremely polite culture, and before they opened up, they began with this bow, which is a lovely touch. Terminal 8 is very spacious and pleasant for an airport, and there's this interesting mural on the wall. Comment below if you can work out what city it is. American airports do cop a lot of criticism, but I found this terminal pleasant to walk around. After that, I was through to security, and there is a separate section for business and first class. Security was a little painful, but at least some of the machines don't require you to remove laptops, which makes the whole process much faster. Now JAL don't have their own lounge here, so they use their oneworld partner, the shared BA and AA lounges. For business passengers, they're allowed into the Greenwich Lounge, which is named after the suburb of New York City. Beginning with a long corridor with Manhattan skyline on the right, and it's a sight to see. We open up into the main section of the lounge, which has a whole array of chairs and tables and PowerPoints everywhere. There's also a quiet room, which is noticeably quiet, and a nice space to sneak away to watch a movie on your headphones, of course, or read. In the centre, there is this large self-serve wine and champagne bar. Now this was around 11 AM, so the breakfast service was about to finish, and this is what remained. There was a decent selection of healthy foods, and I grabbed a plate of fruit before it was taken away. The lunch options were plentiful, with meat, vegetables, and lots of different salads. I was really impressed with how healthy it all was. There's also a self-serve bar with a decent selection and a small number of pastries, although again, I visited between the change from brekkie to lunch service, so things probably didn't look as good as they would have an hour later. There's also a great view of the airport apron, providing hours of plane spotting fun for people like me. But if that's not your scene, there's also a small TV room and a business centre to get business done. Now there's two distinct other sections, which are often quiet as people probably don't know about them. First up is the tasting room, which is the old flagship first dining room, and it's called the Brooklyn Brewery, serving beer and an a la carte menu of pub-style food including cheese, pretzel, olives and fries. I sat here to eat breakfast as the main section was much busier. Next up is the bridge, which is an open air section, but sadly this didn't open until 2 PM, which was after my departure. It's a cocktail bar specialising in aviation American gin and Betty Buzz. While the main section looks like a nice AA Admirals Club, these distinct areas added some flair and some class to what is otherwise still a very decent lounge. There were also plenty of staff around who were all very friendly. Now here's our aircraft, and sadly the view was very poor, so here's footage from Haneda a week ago. And by the way, I reviewed the brand new first class product on that flight, so make sure you check out that video after this one. The A350-1000 is JAL's new flagship aircraft, replacing the trusty Boeing 777, as well as distractingly pretty wingtips. The A350 is built of a carbon composite material, which means that it won't rust, and therefore can run at a high cabin humidity. Now I really noticed that my nose gets dry and sore after a 12-hour flight on an older and drier 777 or A330, so this really is quite a plus. At present, JAL only fly this aircraft between Haneda and JFK, although that will expand to Dallas-Fort Worth in coming months. It was time to board, and as you'd expect, I received a very friendly welcome. There's two business class cabins with 54 seats in total, and I was in the forward section, so turn left. The seats are all in a 1-2-1 layout, and I was in seat 6 Alpha. The middle seats are lined up next to each other and ideal for couples with those movable barriers, although they can be raised if you don't want to talk. The seats along the side are staggered with positioning near the window or near the aisle to allow for the seat behind's leg recess. My seat 6 Alpha is closer to the aisle, which has the added benefit of allowing me to escape to the aisle during the meal service. Now let's check out this brand new business suite. On my right was this armrest that folded away when not in use. The walls of the suites are pretty high, so to make the cabin seem less claustrophobic, they have removed the central overhead storage bins. You've got this massive 24-inch in-flight entertainment screen in front of you, and it's touch sensitive, or you can adjust with this remote control on your side. The first class massive screens are not touch sensitive, so this is actually much easier to use, but back to business class. Below that is a sizable leg recess, which I used as a storage spot during the early stages of my flight. And below that is the main storage spot, other than the bins above, which you share with the aisle passengers. To your left is a storage spot for your shoes, and above that is a storage position for your jacket and jumper. Now, pajamas are not provided during this flight, although there is a massive oversized gown that you can borrow, although it found it to be a very itchy material and too hot. There's reading material, including troubleshooting for the Wi-Fi, which for me resolved after I turned my VPN off. You've got all these buttons here to control the seat and lighting, which are all very self-explanatory. There's a storage ledge which I've made myself comfortable on, and up here is a closed storage box for smaller items, and behind that is a wireless phone charging pad. Above that were USB A and C ports, a universal power plug, and a port for the noise cancelling headphones, which by the way, here they are, and I found them both effective and comfortable to wear. This bronze coloured thing up here is the reading lamp. Here's a fold out table which felt sturdy enough, and as mentioned before, in this seat you do have aisle access when it's still out. You can also put it away partially and use it as a larger ledge to store more of your stuff. Here's the amenity kit brought to you by Harold Boney, and there's several different colours, and these were launched with the A350-1000. And we were offered juice, but no booze or water. I didn't want any booze, but I'm surprised it still wasn't offered, and these were served in a plastic cup. Now here's the contents of the amenity kit. It has the usual earplugs, toothbrush, eye masks and tissues, although it also comes with a phone holder in case you don't want to watch the big screen. Previous flights did come with a USB A and C cord, although that wasn't included in this one, and I'm not sure why, but possibly because this does have a wireless charging pad. I got comfy, tried to get some photos for this video thumbnail, and sat back and awaited our departure. Here's the in-flight entertainment, and the screen is brilliant. It's huge and the quality is crisp. You can make out all of Orlando Bloom's zero facial imperfections in all of its 4K glory. But the content is lacking, with only a few Western movies and a few episodes of TV series. First and business class also get these electromagic window shades, which, as you can see here later in the flight, still don't completely block the sun. But they are certainly better than the 787 Dreamliner windows, but still not perfect. Direct sunlight was still shining into my face, so I was able to move my seat, but in economy they can't move their seat, so they have traditional plastic window covers, which I'm sure work fine. The leading edge flaps were deployed in the standard Airbus Oral Magic,
check the location of the emergency exits in front of and behind you.
And there looked like there was going to be a water cannon salute, but sadly not. There was a fire truck on the other side, so maybe they were waiting for another plane to salute them. We got some incredible sounds from the Rolls-Royce Trent XWBs and views taking off, including a faint Manhattan skyline in the background, so I'll stop talking and let you enjoy those. materials in the suite feel top notch, and what I suspect it feels like to sit in a Bentley, not that I've ever been in one. I'm sure that the ledge is not marble, but it certainly feels like it, and it even has that cool temperature that's hard to fake with plastic stones or plastic metals. While the doors were locked open for takeoff, there's still a lot of privacy and no real direct eye contact possible with anyone. There's 3 bathrooms for the 54 business class seats, and it seemed fairly standard. There was a collection of mouthwashes and toothbrushes. Being a Japanese toilet, there was also a bidet, which was interesting. When I got back to my seat, there was a wet towel waiting prior to the meal service. I got comfy and put away my boots and relaxed into the large leg recess. Many similar business seats have quite narrow leg recesses, but this is perfectly fine. If you look closely, you'll notice that the suites bulge out at the lower level, which slightly increases the seat width and the leg room as well. Only minor, but it's noticeable, especially if you like to sleep on your side and flex your knees a little. Another interesting feature was the adjustability of the seat, which includes the headrest flexing forward, which I really appreciate, as I usually have the pillow on my lower back because that's usually hopelessly sore. So when I recline, I have to lift my head up to see the TV screen. Now this is a minor issue for me, but it's a cool feature nonetheless, and it's these little things that make business class special. The other interesting feature is the headrest mounted speakers, which I suppose are there for people who don't want to use standard headphones. I guess they worked, but you're obviously exposed to all of the cabin noise. To demonstrate them, I've tried to position the camera in the position of where my head would be to show you how it works unless you move forward and away from the speakers.
I'm unstoppable now. I'm unstoppable.
I forgot to mention these slippers and shoehorn, which are also provided. There was a round of snacks and room temperature nuts and olives, with a drink of your choice. I'm going alcohol free this trip to get some work done, but I wanted to feel a little bit fancy, so went with an alcohol free sparkling wine that wasn't very sparkling, not fancy to be honest, so I stuck with sparkling water after that. I went with the Japanese cuisine, which I thoroughly enjoy, mostly because it's so diverse and I have no idea what I'm eating. By the way, that screen does come out, and you can use it to adjust everything, including the seats, the lights, windows, and in-flight entertainment, although I found the touch very imprecise, so just use the other buttons and big touchscreen instead. Now here's the menus, and skip ahead half a minute or so if you just want to see the food. First was the Iridori Gozen, and I apologise in advance for my mispronunciation of everything. On the lower left is the taro simmered carrot green beans. Above that is jellyfish with sesame vinegar. Moving further clockwise is steamed chicken with simmered asparagus. Next is chicken and bamboo shoot cake, and the large plate was assorted seasonal vegetables with smoked salmon, grilled scallop, grilled bamboo shoots, and apple soy sauce. Outside was a treat, with the semi-frozen Hudson Bay, which was a little glary due to the sun on my side of the plane, but oh well, it was a great sight nonetheless, but the views get better once we get over to Alaska. Next was rice inside that packet, above that was Japanese pickles, and the main plate was grilled ginger beef, simmered black cod, and burdock and spinach. And finally for dessert, I had this mascarpone, yogurt mousse, and coffee. And after that, we had business class branded wet towels, which is a novelty. I played with the seat, which is infinitely adjustable, although there's 3 preset positions for takeoff, relaxing, and flat. I'll show you the mattress later, which makes it one of the comfiest beds in the sky. I was still thirsty, so ordered a cup of green tea which arrived within seconds. The suite doors were unlocked and I had a bit of a play because, well, I'm a child. In-flight Wi-Fi is available at a cost, except for first class that get a free voucher. Here's a speed run that I did on the previous flight and the prices for this flight. I had trouble on both flights until I remembered that my VPN turns on automatically, and turning that off resolved the issue, so check that out if you have any problems as well. The advantage of an a la carte menu is that you select the meals when you want them, and my body thought it was dinner time, so I went with the Haidaki Matsu beef curry because it's a part of the A350 commemorative special menu. For dessert, I went with fresh fruit and sparkling water, and sat back and enjoyed the views of Alaska from 38,000 feet. Much of the flight was above cloud, so we were really lucky to see these incredible different frozen formations. Considering how rugged it looked down there, it really makes you appreciate the comfort I was experiencing on board this Airbus A350, and especially in JAL's brilliant new business class seats. Above your seat are these mattresses, which I assume you'd just lay over your seat, and it made for a very comfortable bed. Many airlines have quite a thin topper, but this is properly thick and comfortable, making it one of the comfiest business class beds in the sky. As I mentioned earlier, the leg recess is reasonably wide too. Unfortunately, there's no individual air vents above you, but thankfully the cabin was kept at a reasonable temperature for most of the flight. After napping a few hours because I wanted to sleep again on the next flight, I was up again and watching media from my laptop. Again, JAL's content is minimal, so bring your own, but at least the tower cam makes for great watching, especially on the 4K screen. I had a pre-arrival course and went with JAL's special tonkotsu flavoured miso ramen noodles, pork cutlet sandwich, and washed down with JAL's signature Skytime peach and grapefruit juice. About 2.5 hours before landing, the crew began the sunrise colours, and just before 2 hours reminded everyone individually that the kitchen would be closing soon, so they had to make their final orders. I was full by this time, so I just had sparkling water and lemon. So, how was the flight? The airport experience was good, with access to the very decent Greenwich Lounge. TSA checks can be a nightmare, so it was nice to be able to use the dedicated first and business line. The new seat itself is very comfortable and private without being too claustrophobic, especially with reasonably wide leg recesses. The TV screen is brilliant, although there was a lack of content, so I would definitely load your device up with content before your flight. I wonder if Wi-Fi could have also been free for business class as well. Unlike almost every other seat I've experienced, there wasn't a dedicated spot for a water bottle, so mine floated around my feet on the floor. Not ideal, and probably the only glaring issue with this seat, but not a huge problem. The food and drink was perfectly fine, with a decent lunch served straight after departure, and an a la carte menu offered until 2 hours before landing. The service was typically friendly and attentive, as you would expect with Japan Airlines. On the odd occasion I pressed the call bell, it was answered within 10 to 15 seconds. The aircraft itself is great, and I know it's fairly subjective, but I'm sure I felt less dry after a flight of the same length on the older 777. So in summary, the seat and flexible menu options really jump JAL into the top few international business class products. They just need a few more movies and TV shows. By the way, we had an incredible view of Tokyo as we came into land. It really is a beautiful city with the many gardens interspersed between the buildings. You've got the Imperial Palace and Gardens in the background now, and further behind that is the massive Sky Tree, which is the tallest tower in Tokyo and the third tallest structure in the entire world. But closer to the plane now is the bright red Tokyo Tower, built in 1958, and at the time it was the tallest structure in Japan, hence why it was painted red to comply with aviation safety standards. It's incredible to see the progress, as what was previously a huge tower is now dwarfed by standard office buildings next to it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the window footage taken on my new DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which seems to have much better low light performance than my GoPros that I've used in the past. As I said earlier, 2 weeks ago I flew on their brand new A350-1000 first class, product in the opposite direction, so please check out that video. But first, comment below with your thoughts on JAL's new business class product, and please give the video a thumbs up so I know to keep making them. Thanks for watching.